is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are KINSLER.
Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by
Bell Tire.
It is another gorgeous night in downtown Detroit tonight. The Tigers continuing their 7-game homestand. We welcome you to CABRERA Park. Game 1 tonight featuring the visiting Toronto Blue Jays and the Detroit Tigers. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pepper, Ron Allen. We are glad to have you with us tonight. Tigers and Jays, Game 1 in this series. And Ron, the Tigers, a little bit of momentum right now after sweeping the White Sox, feeling good about themselves.
You know, they played a nice brand of baseball over the weekend against the Chicago White Sox. They're going to need to do that against this Toronto Blue Jays team. They're playing much better baseball. And the guy they're going up against today, Jay Happ, he's having a really good year, and he does his best work on the road.
All right, now the guys the Jays are going up against tonight is Michael Fulmer. I mean, he's been having a really good start and really good stretch, and that start that he had against the Angels was awfully good. Fulmer needs to be good tonight because this is a really good lineup.
You know, he just continues to improve, start after start after start. One start he'll have a great fastball, the next start he'll have that good slider, and then he'll have that good changeup. But his bread is buttered with a heater. He gets all the way up to 97 miles an hour. He'll touch 98. He's not afraid to throw that fastball. And then when he speeds the bats up of the hitters, then he'll go to this real nice slide piece that has some outstanding depth. We really haven't seen the slider barreled up very often. That's a go-to pitch for him, but I've heard he's going to use his changeup today to some of these right-handers just to keep them honest, and they've got a lot of right-handers in their lineup.
7 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, 8 punch-outs in that last start against the Halos. Now, as far as the Blue Jays are concerned, this is a team that has a bit of a different look to their lineup these days. It's always been a very good lineup. It'll be a good lineup again tonight, but when you look at the way they're lined up here, Rod, Bautista now in the leadoff slot, followed by Donaldson and Encarnacion. They pack a punch.
Well, these three guys averaged 40 home runs apiece last year and well over 100 RBIs. You can see they're slow this season. 229 for Bautista, just 12 home runs. Donaldson was the MVP last year. He's hitting only 250, and Encarnacion has driven in 46. So he's driving in runs in bunches, but the other guys really haven't hit their strides yet. This was the best offense in all of baseball last year. They're dead last this year.
All right, we'll see if that changes anytime soon. Hopefully not until after they lead. After a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam Studios. Check in with Kristen Keith. Look who's getting hot now. Jay Upton and the Tigers taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. All coming up next. Rays are in town. Michael Fulmer is on the mound. He is presented tonight by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Fulmer outstanding 5 days ago against the Los Angeles Angels. 7 2/3, 2-hit, scoreless baseball. Power fastball gets up to 98 miles an hour. Real good slider and a changeup that continues to get better.
It'll be a challenge tonight as the Jays are in town with their good lineup that posted a lot of damage last year. Not so much this year, but Jose Bautista leading it off for Toronto.
Bautista stands right on top of the dish and loves fastballs inside.
Here's the 1-0 from Fulmer. Bautista looks at a strike on the outer edge.
If you watch Bautista closely, he takes that left leg, his lead leg, and ever so slightly takes it and points it down toward third base to open his hips up to help him get to good fastballs inside.
Looked like he went around. Yes, he did, says David Rackley down at first base. 1-2. Jays have been searching for some consistency out of their leadoff spot, and they have settled in on Bautista.
That's what I was talking about, how he takes that foot, points it down toward third base to open those hips up.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. It's high. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bautista not your prototypical leadoff man, but he does walk. Kevin Pillar tried it for a while this year. That didn't work out all that well. And a ball that just missed inside. 3-2 now on Bautista.
And Bautista's already walked 43 times this year. And #1 in the majors in that category.
Donaldson waiting on deck. The 3-2. And there's a walk. Ball 4. So Bautista leads this game off with a base on balls. The rest of the Blue Jays lineup tonight presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. You saw Bautista. Donaldson at third. Encarnacion has been hot of late. He's the DH. Saunders in left. Smoke at first. Russell Martin, the veteran catcher. And then you've got Travis, Pillar, and Barney in the bottom 3 spots. So Bautista now with 44 base on balls. The leader in the American League. Here's Donaldson. Swing and a miss. Donaldson had a rip at 94 miles an hour from Fulmer.
Donaldson does not get cheated. He's got that high leg kick, and once he gets that foot on the ground, he's got a really quick bat and a dangerous bat. The reigning most valuable player in the American League.
Here's the 0-1. Driven deep but foul out of play. No balls, 2 strikes on Josh Donaldson. Well, you mentioned the MVP numbers, Rod. Last year, man, he just went off.
He sure did. He received 23 of 30 first place votes. Mike Trout had 7 first place votes. First Blue Jays player to win the award since George Bell. And did it in '87. Jorge Bell.
The 0-2 is swung on and missed. An awkward swing there, and Donaldson goes down.
We talked about Fulmer at the top of the show and how important it would be for him to throw that fastball on the previous pitch, which Donaldson pulled foul. And then all of a sudden, if you're Donaldson, you say, this guy's got a nice piece of cheese. I got to get started early, and then you see the awkward swing that Donaldson just took there. He buckled his knees, and he still tried to swing.
Here is Edwin Encarnacion. 46 RBIs this year for Encarnacion. Swing and a miss. There's another big rip. David Ortiz continues to lead the American League in runs driven in, but Encarnacion is third behind Ortiz and Cano. Wide open stance. Right back up the middle, slowly hit. Kinsler flips to second, 1, and a double play. 4-6-3, and the inning is over. No runs, a walk. Nobody left. We'll go to the bottom of the first at Comerica. Here come the Tigers now in the bottom of the first inning. They're facing a left-hander, Jay Happ, and their lineup looks like this, presented by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. KINSLER, MAYBIN, and CABRERA at the top. Victor Martinez, the DH. JD is in right. Castellanos in third. Justin Upton starting to heat up a little bit now. He's in left. And then McCann and Iglesias facing the left-handed offerings of Jay Happ.
Jay Happ is having an outstanding season. He's made 11 starts. 10 of those starts have been quality starts. 6-2 is the overall record with an ERA just a shade over 3. Fastball gets up to 95 miles an hour. Curve, slider, and a change, all part of his 4-pitch mix.
So the 33-year-old lefty goes to work now as KINSLER stands in. And he will look at ball 1.
It's the 4th consecutive day that the Tigers have seen a left-handed starter. And they beat the other 3. And they beat Rodon, they beat Sale, and they also beat Quintana of the Chicago White Sox over the weekend.
Now the 1-0 popped up right side of the infield. Foul ground for Justin Smoke.
Let's take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays starting defense, brought to you by Tim Hortons. The outfield, left to right, reads Saunders, Pilar, Bautista. Up the middle, they have Darwin, Barney, and Travis. Donaldson, Smoke on the corners, and Russell Martin is the catcher.
Here's a guy that has been the igniter for the Tigers out of that 2 spot in the lineup. It is Cameron Maybin, who still is batting over 400. He's at 414.
Cam's got a lot of room if he wants to bunt for a base hit. Donaldson's playing about 7 steps in back of the third base bag. It's a lot of room down toward third base.
You would think he'd be at least even with the bag.
Look at all that room down toward third base.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. 2 balls, no strikes on Maybin. Maybin scored 5 runs in that just completed sweep of the White Sox. 2-0 is low. 3 balls and no strikes. 7 for 17 on the homestand for Maybin. Here's the 3-0 pitch, and he lost in ball 4. A 4-pitch walk. 1 on, 1 out. Here is the Chevy Silverado most dependable player, and it's going to be Cameron Maybin. You see, Rob, the difference with him in the lineup and without.
Yeah, the team went 16-21 when he was nursing that wrist injury that he had at the beginning of spring training, and then he hurt his shoulder, which further delayed his action in the big leagues.
Now Cabrera, and Miggy looks at ball 1.
Tigers can run on Martin. And Martin's only caught 5 of 24 would-be stealers this year, base stealers that is, and the last 22 have been safe. So he's 0 for his last 22.
The 1-0 pitch. There's a late strike call by Larry Vanover. Jay Happ is out of Spring Valley, Illinois, 6'5", 203, 33 years of age. That'll get fouled down the line. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tigers, as Rod mentioned, have seen a lot of lefties recently, as they are tonight, but their record is improving against lefties. They are now 6-8.
At one time, I think they were 1-8.
They were. I mean, so they are making strides, which is something Brad Ausmus talked about before the game, and he said, well, I kind of figured it would be that way.
Especially with all the potent right-handed bats they have.
1-2 is swung on and missed. He struck him out, and Cabrera trying to sell a foul tip there, but Larry Vanover not buying. 2 gone.
Here's just what we were talking about. They got off to a slow start against left-handers, but they have since really picked it up.
Here we'll see if they can notch another win against the lefty. Here is Victor Martinez. Bouncing ball to short. 2 steps to his right. Barney. He'll get the force at second to retire the side. No runs, a walk. 1 man left. The big money encounter. Michael Fulmer has a pretty good scoreless streak now. It's at 17 1/3, and that streak is active as we speak. Rookie since 1976 in Tigers history. Fitterch had a couple of those. Boy, the bird was special to watch.
He sure was. Very entertaining.
So Fulmer goes back to work, and he'll face Michael Saunders.
Bird very much was must-see TV.
Saunders left-handed bat strokes one toward left field, slicing to the corner. Upton coming over and runs out of real estate.
Take a look at the Tigers starting defense. It's presented by Beaumont Health. Upton, MAYBIN, JD Martinez in the outfield. Iglesias, Kinsler up the middle. Castellanos and Cabrera on the corners. And James McCann is the catcher. This evening,
Saunders at 289 with 9 home runs. He has driven in 19 this year. Coming off a knee injury from last season. Looks at a ball high. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Saunders is finally starting to perform the way that so many thought that he would perform years ago. I remember Don Wakamatsu when he was managing the Seattle Mariners. He absolutely loved the skill set of Saunders, but Saunders has not been able to stay healthy.
7 of his 9 home runs have come on the road this year. And health certainly has been an issue. Just 9 games played last season because of the knee injury.
Look at this changeup. That changeup looks like the changeup that Joaquin Benoit used to throw that he called the Vulcan changeup. Does not look like your circle change that you see so many throw. It's almost like it's a split change. Benoit had a good one too.
You know, the funny thing about that changeup, Rod, is that his first couple of starts, really, Michael didn't throw too many of them. Then all of a sudden, the light switch went on, and he was throwing a lot of them.
Well, those fastballs got hit around a little bit.
That'll do it. That's lifted again to the corner, out of play.
Because some of those fastballs that he can get away with in 3-1 counts and 2-1 counts down in the minor leagues, you don't get away with those up here. So you have to show the hitters that you will throw a changeup when you're behind in a count, or you have to start guys off with changeups. You have to throw that changeup to right-handers too. And Fulmer's done all of that in his last 5 starts, and that's why he has been spectacular.
2-2 on Saunders. I think folks around Major League Baseball are starting to take notice now of Michael Fulmer.
Well, you see why Dave Dombrowski now held out for him in the Cespedes deal. He was not going to make that deal to New York unless he got Fulmer in return.
Bounced that one off his foot.
Fulmer also starts out at about 92, 93 miles an hour. He knows that he can reach back and get 97, 98 anytime he needs to get to that velocity. But it's his slider that's the really good pitch.
Fulmer has not lost a start since May the 5th when he gave up 5 runs on 10 hits in Cleveland. But after that, his numbers have been rock solid. It'll dive low. 3-2 now on Michael Saunders. Fulmer allowed a walk in the first, but got a double play ball, so no damage.
I like this call right here. Changeup.
And he missed with ball 4. That'll put the leadoff man on here in the second.
Last 3 starts, you can see how much he has used that changeup. 22%, opposed to his first 4 starts where he only used it 7% of the time.
Yeah, that's a serious jump in that pitch. He'll face another lefty and Justin Smoke. Smoke sends it high in the air to left field. Back goes Upton to the warning track, reaching for the wall. Runner tags. Throw coming into second base, not in time. Fly ball by Smoke advances the runner. Here are the field conditions tonight, presented by Ace Hardware and the Scotts Company. 75 degrees at game time, partly cloudy here at the ballpark. They have the tarp on most of the afternoon, expecting rain here tonight, but apparently it has decided to go elsewhere.
Yeah, both of the teams could not get on the field and do anything today. Both teams had to hit in the batting cages.
Here is Russell Martin, the catcher for the Jays.
Russell Martin struggling this year. Batting just 197 with 4 homers and 15 driven in.
You look at a ball high.
This Blue Jays team, Mario, as a team is hitting just 237, which is the poorest in the American League.
Yeah, and they're tied with the Yankees for dead last in the AL, which is really kind of shocking. I mean, based on what they did last season. Here's the 1-0. There's a strike on the outer edge.
That's a well-located fastball at 94 miles an hour. Straight downhill on the black outside.
Blue Jays had a team last year. They were 3rd in the American League, actually tied for 2nd in batting average. Slow roller toward first base. This will advance the runner, but the shovel toss is on number 2. And Saunders goes to 3rd. John Gibbons has his team right now within 2.5 of Baltimore and Boston.
His team has pitched very well. His starting staff, they've been good all year. Bullpen has been spotty. Their pitching pretty much has carried them. They still hit a lot of homers, though.
Here is Devon Travis, the former Tigers farmhand. Fouled it off 0-1.
Just came off the disabled list of Devon Travis, and John Gibbons said yesterday that, you know, once he gets some at-bats under his belt, he probably will go back to the leadoff spot, and Bautista will slot down in another spot somewhere.
Travis last year broke into the big leagues with a bang before he got hurt.
It was looking like he was going to be Rookie of the Year for a long time.
Yeah, he had those kinds of numbers. 1 ball, 1 strike. Travis traded to the Blue Jays in return for Anthony Gose, who right now is at AAA for the Tigers.
He was the Tigers' top prospect at the time that they traded him. Good kid, too.
Here's the 1-1. You know, when we talked to Devon in spring training a couple of years ago, he was, you know, kind of still relatively unknown. Was still trying to make his mark,
right?
Make his name. But you're right. I mean, you talked to him, and he was extremely approachable. 2012 is when the Tigers drafted him. Now the 2-1. Bouncing ball to short. Iglesias has it there. Travis is out. And the Jays are turned away. Baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Raise your expectations of what a bank can be when it's time. Come to Comerica. And by Ram Trucks. Come to discover great deals during the Ram Drive and Discover event. But cloudy and overcast at the ballpark tonight, but that's all right. Temperatures are pleasant. Tigers and Jays open up a 3-game series. J.D. Martinez leads it off. It'll be J.D., then Castellanos and Justin Upton. Fouled off the mask of the catcher Martin. 1 ball and 1 strike. Martinez has hit safely in his last 4. He has settled back into the 5 spot in the lineup now with Cameron MAYBIN hitting second. Here's the 1-1 from Jay Happ. It's a ball inside. Happ delivered a walk to MAYBIN in the first, but got a strikeout and a ground out from Cabrera and Victor Martinez. JD looks at a ball low, and now he's gone 3-1.
Good damage count here for J.D. Martinez. Should he get a fastball from Happ?
A lot of damage for Martinez in his last 3. 5 for 10. Bouncing ball to short. Gobbled up there by Barney. 1 gone here in the second. Hey, by the way, stay tuned to Tigers Live. Following the game, we select the Fox Sports Detroit Tigers Player of the Game, presented by McDonald's. Stop by for your breakfast favorites, now being served all day.
All day breakfast at Mickey D.
Can't beat it. Here is Nick Castellanos. You know how many tweets I got about that Drake thing we did yesterday?
I got a lot too.
How can you not know that's Drake?
Oh my goodness. They don't understand we are 50 years old. But we just act cool.
Man, 1 ball, no strikes on Castellanos. Well, I will defer to you on all things Drake because you are a huge fan. The 1-0 is a little bit outside. 2-0.
If Happ continues to fall behind these Tigers hitters, he's going to get hit hard. He doesn't give up a lot of hits on the road. His batting average against him on the road this year is just 196.
He has thrown more balls than strikes so far in this game. 2-1. So far, he's been able to avoid damage.
Here's that ratio now. 11 balls, 8 strikes. Drilled to center field.
And it's over the head of Pilar, who started in, and now it's going to go to the wall. Castellanos could get 3 out of this. Here's the throw, not in time. Stand-up triple for Nick Castellanos.
But that totally fooled Kevin Pilar.
And you will not see that very often. Kevin Pilar is one of the best center fielders in all of baseball. As a matter of fact, Wilson last year gave him the Defensive Player of the Year award in the American League, which is the equivalent of the Rawlings Platinum Glove.
Wow. We're used to seeing him just dive all over the place, make great catches.
Yeah, that ball had some serious backspin on it, and that's one of your more difficult plays right there when the ball is hit directly at you and has a little backspin on it. Sometimes you do get fooled. You break in, that ball will carry over your head.
Upton trying to score him now with 1 out.
Justin had 3 good at-bats yesterday. He had a couple of hits, and he flew out sharply to right field. Or I should have said lined out sharply to right field.
Four out of 12 on the homestand for Upton. Broken bat. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Good cut fastball there thrown by Happ on the inner third of home plate at 93 miles an hour. One of the best fastballs he's thrown so far this evening. Told you Happ has a fastball. He's got a slider. He also has a curveball. He has a changeup that he will throw to the right-handers. He will not throw the changeup to the left-handed bats.
Here's the 1-1. Right by him at 92. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Upton in yesterday's game had one of the big hits in the ball game. That was that big 5th inning the Tigers had with the bases loaded. He doubled in a couple. Now the 1-2. Well, the one thing about Upton, Rod, that I really admired is the way he has handled the first 2 months of the year, because he is not used to these kinds of numbers that he's putting up. Yet, when you see him in the clubhouse on a daily basis, you can't tell he's a guy that has been struggling.
He's a pro. He knows sooner or later it's going to turn for him. He has never gone through 2 months like this, so it's hard for him to figure out. But he does know that he's done enough positive things on the baseball field that he'll figure it out again.
And darts in low. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Just about everything that Happ has thrown to Upton has been on the inside part of the plate.
James McCann waiting on deck. Now he's gone full 3-2. One out triple by Castellanos. He is standing at third. Upton trying to put it in play and get the run in. Here's the 3-2. He walked in, ball 4. That is his 2nd walk of the game. Going to bring up James McCann. One thing Happ has been good at this year is inducing double plays. 12 ground ball double plays this year, 2nd in the American League. He's going to try and get McCann to roll into one now.
If you're McCann, you're thinking about hitting something to right field. You're thinking about something in the strike zone, something deep enough that you could drive the ball the opposite way. You can go this direction, but you want to go in the air. If you can, you want to stay off the ground, obviously. Huge hole on that right side, though. Good swing. Good cut.
No balls, 1 strike. McCann 4 for 10 on the homestand, so
The struggles he has had, he is starting to break out of a little bit now. Tigers trying to get Michael Fulmer some early runs, and he's getting himself a second inning snack.
Yeah, power ball.
Ooh, that one just missed. Happ wanted it, didn't get it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here you go. Here are the numbers on the homestand. He's homered. Couple of RBIs. Runner goes. Here's a strike. Throw down to second is not in time. Castellanos holding at third.
That is now 23 consecutive steals of second base successfully while Martin has been behind the mound. Pretty good jump here by Upton. He went on first movement and he was safe by a pretty good margin.
Tigers staying out of a double play with runners at second and third now. 1 and 2 on McCann. Now a single scores 2 perhaps. Meanwhile, the pitch count starting to elevate for Jay Happ. Here's the 1-2. Driven deep to left field. Way back. That ball is up. And it is gone. James McCann with a deep drive to left. And the Tigers scored first.
Boy, did he drop his hands nicely on that.
For McCann, his second on the homestand.
That's a breaking ball, and it's right down in the nitro zone of James McCann. He just dropped the barrel of the bat in the zone and got a lot of carry. He knew that ball was gone as soon as he hit it. That was over the bullpen. That may be one of the farthest balls I've seen McCann hit.
Michael Fulmer pumped up about an early lead. There's a strike called on Iglesias. Well, you're not kidding, Rod, because that was estimated at 429. When you clear the bullpens, you know you got it all.
It sounded loud.
Boy, is that good to see. You get McCann rolling now, and that really lengthens your lineup. 0-2 on Jose Iglesias. Slice to center field. Pilar coming on. 2 outs.
Here's one more look at the McCann homer, and you can listen to it. Left his bat at 102 miles an hour. Happ not fooling anybody. The ball that Castellanos hit to center field that was misplayed by Pilar was hit sharply, as well as the one Iglesias just hit along with the home run for McCann.
Keep in mind that Jay Happ had allowed 3 runs or fewer in 20 of his last 21 starts. And he's given up 3 here in the second tonight. Well, he's been on some kind of roll. Here is Kinsler. Ian popped up in his first at bat.
I think it helps that the Tigers have seen quite a few lefties the last few days. Seeing another lefty here today that throws hard, just like the other 3 that we saw over the weekend for the White Sox. Oh, he's got a book now.
Now, what's he writing in his book?
Oh, yeah. I hit that one a long way. I killed that. You ain't got to say much more than that.
Second inning against Toronto, and Jay Happ, I killed it.
Little slide piece in my nitro zone.
The end. Signed, James. 0-2 on Kinsler. Ball high and away, 1-2. .26 pitch inning for Jay Happ. The 1-2 is outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. So James has got a book. We know Martinez has a book. Old school, man, handwritten.
It's good to see. In a day and age where just about everything that you need from a numbers standpoint is provided for you
on an iPad.
You've got a couple of guys like McCann and JD Martinez that like to take their own notes. They like to make their own jot down things that's going to help them the next time they see these pitchers.
Missed inside, 3-2. So that's 40 now for Happ. 29 pitch second.
Tigers offense has been scoring runs in bunches here at Comerica Park.
Hit hard into left field, base hit. So KINSLER is on with a 2-out single. And there's no end in sight for Happ.
And most of the balls that have been hit hard this inning against Happ have been up in the strike zone, with the exception of the ball that McCann hit.
Blue Jays came into this series having played pretty good baseball. Took 2 out of 3 from the Boston Red Sox, winners of 10 of their last 13, but they've been stung early in this game. MAYBIN has a walk on his resume tonight. There's a balk. A little stutter step by KINSLER forced that balk, I think.
Yep.
Ooh. It was slight, but you could see it
right there.
That'll get away from Martin. He can't locate it. KINSLER to third base. And the Tigers have another run just 90 feet away.
Happ has been all over the place here this evening. He's thrown 42 pitches. He's thrown 20 balls and 22 strikes. So he does not have his good command here today. And the Tigers have let him know it. It appeared that Martin was crossed up on that last pitch thrown by Happ.
Looked like that ball actually hit him in the arm. And they're talking about it now. This turned into an ugly inning for Happ. I don't know if they're going to call that a wild pitch or a pass ball. It clearly was crossed up. Pass ball is the call. A balk and a pass ball in this inning. And a stolen base.
I don't know if you should give the catcher a pass ball on a play where he was clearly crossed up. And if you're an official scorekeeper, you should be able to see that.
I agree with that 100%. Then you could tell by the way that he just approached that ball that it was not what he was expecting. So I don't know why. I mean, obviously he made contact with the ball. It didn't hit the dirt, so that's why they called it a pass ball. But and a strike on the outside corner, 2-1.
Here's one more look at it. Here's a fastball, and he was clearly looking for something else.
2-2 on MAYBIN. Three 3-0 Tigers and the home run by McCann. And that's going to get away from Martin and score a run.
A ball, a wild pitch, and a pass ball.
Wild pitch scores KINSLER from third.
It didn't get much uglier than that.
No, I agree.
Gave the Tigers that fourth run. Russell Martin, and frustrated look on his face.
Ground ball, base hit left field. MAYBIN is aboard for the second time tonight. Doesn't appear Jay Happ's going to be around this game very long tonight. His pitch count is up. He's given up 4 early runs. And now we'll get a visit to the mound.
Pete Walker is the pitching coach, strolling out to the mound to have a conversation with Jay Happ and his catcher, Russell Martin.
What a long inning this has been for Happ. He needs a breather. And all he has to do now is face CABRERA.
That's no breather.
This is a 36 pitch inning, and we get some activity now as Chavez warms up. He struck Miggy out his first time. MAYBIN stretching his lead at first base. There he goes. Driven to center field. Pilar is there to end the inning. It's a big inning, though. The Tigers scored 4. The first 3 came on one mighty swing of the bat from James McCann. Put that one in the book. Four-run second with a 3-run shot. It's 4-0 Detroit as we go to the top of the third. Michael Fulmer back to the hill, and he'll deliver a strike to Kevin Pilar.
Very important for the rookie, Michael Fulmer, to make sure that he gets his team back in the dugout as quickly as possible and keeps the momentum on their side.
Darwin Barney to follow, and then back up top to Jose Bautista.
Pilar is an outstanding defender, but struggling this year with the bat. Ooh, nice slide piece.
Pilar has some of the attributes that you would like from a leadoff guy. He can run a little bit, but he just doesn't walk. And his on-base percentage not very good, so he was not able to hold on to that position.
Plays the game the right way, too.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Pilar. High fly ball left field. Upton backing up, going to the warning track. 1 out. Time for a game break now. Johnny Kane.
The shortstop, number 18, Barney.
Johnny, thanks. The Cubs trying to win their 40th game of the year tonight.
That team is rolling, man.
39-16. They already have a 9.5 game lead. Darwin Barney, the batter. He's a former Cub. You got St. Louis, they're 3 over and 10 back. Pittsburgh's 4 over and 9.5 back.
That's the division you don't want to be in this year.
Nope. Ground ball. Kinsler went the other way.
I don't know what happened there with Ian.
It was almost like he was going to cover the bag or something, and the ball just skidded by him.
And it looked like he was moving before the ball was even hit. Here's Ian Kinsler up here at the top of your screen. And you can see once he starts to take off toward the other way. I wonder what he was looking at.
Well, the Blue Jays had their first hit. That'll bring up Bautista. He walked to lead off the ball game.
Rich Doobie, the pitching coach, told me today that Michael Fulmer would not be afraid to throw his changeup to the right-hand batters. And here it is. And what a good pitch, too.
I mean, you got to have some confidence if you're a right-handed pitcher throwing your changeup to top 3 guys in this lineup.
Yeah, I was going to use another word, but you're right.
There's several ways of describing confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
But your word is the proper word.
1-1 on Bautista. High pop-up, shallow left field. Upton was playing deep. Iggy going back. Man, did he cover a lot of ground to get to that ball.
He can cover a lot of ground.
I mean, that's going to go as a pop-up to the shortstop, but it was hit into medium depth left field.
Well, Upton was playing on the warning track. With all the wind up there today, Iggy just kept going and going and going. And Iggy did it the way you're supposed to do it. As a middle infielder, you just continue to go as far out. And then when you hear the outfielder call you off, then you peel off. But until you hear him call you off, you just continue to go like you're going to make that play.
Here's Donaldson. He struck out in the first. .41 home runs last year for Donaldson. And he'll take strike 1 on the outer edge. Fulmer's 0-1 pitch.
See, Donaldson has that little protective device on his right thumb. In a game against David Price a couple of days ago in Boston, David Price really jammed him with an inside fastball. And his hand is hurting. That's why he has that little protective device on his thumb right now.
2-1 the count.
Some guys like to use that even though they don't have bone bruises. What it does for a hitter is it helps you to get the bat out of the palm of your hand and gets it more on your fingertips, and it makes it easier for you to whip that bat through the strike zone.
2-1. Donaldson last year in 7 games against the Tigers had 2 homers, 9 RBIs.
He's a nice two-way player. He's a really good defender at third too.
He's ahead 2-1. Now 3 balls and 1 strike.
But as long as Manny Machado was playing that position, no one else is going to get a Gold Glove there. Of course, Machado playing shortstop now. with J.J. Hardy being on the disabled list, but he'll go back to third, and probably for the next decade, Manny's going to have a stranglehold on that Gold Glove at that position.
And there's ball 4. So Fulmer now has given up a single and a walk here in the third, and that'll bring up Encarnacion.
This Blue Jays team can strike quick. Encarnacion with already 12 homers this year. He's driven in 46. If you're Fulmer, you need to be careful. These guys can get on the board in a hurry.
Especially this guy, Encarnacion, with 12 home runs.
He's a dead pull hitter. And so if you want to keep him in the ballpark, then usually you have to stay away from Encarnacion, even though he stands right on top of the plate and he tries to pull everything. You still have to force him into hitting the ball to right field. Less damage done in that area for Edwin.
Encarnacion's career began in Cincinnati. His numbers were okay there, but really until he got to Toronto, they didn't go to the next level until they became a Blue Jay. He had 42 home runs one year. That was back in 2012. He stays away. 1 ball, 1 strike on Encarnacion.
Encarnacion is a free agent after this season, and Bautista also is a free agent after this season. And rumor has it they're not going to be able to afford both guys. And this is a guy that they probably will re-sign because he's a little younger than Bautista.
30 homers, 100 RBIs in 3 of his last 4 years. Massive production. And he missed again, and Encarnacion laid off. 2-1.
Here's why they continue to pitch him away. And you can see most of his damage is done to the pull field. 20% here, 37 here. He doesn't usually go in that direction with much authority, so that's where you want to force him into hitting the baseball. Don't let him pull it.
Ooh, big swing there by Encarnacion.
These guys do not get cheated, do they?
Nope. And when they make contact, it goes a long way.
And even with 2 strikes, and Bautista and Donaldson, Encarnacion take these same type of swings. He's not thinking about right field at all.
That was 95 right down the middle.
Just don't make a mistake.
Driven deep to right field. Martinez going back to the track. He's to the wall. JD dropped it.
It's a catch.
They're going to call him out. Martinez held on to it, and that'll end the inning. Ball was hit hard by Encarnacion the other way. It looked like it might have enough, and JD scrambled back there to make the play. In the inning, no runs, a hit, a walk. And we'll see if the Blue Jays want to challenge this here. And they will not. So Fulmer pitches through the meaty part of the lineup. JD Martinez with a leaping catch.
4-0 as we go to the bottom of the third. Bernstein advantage brings you the pitcher-batter matchup. Victor Martinez's career against the Toronto Blue Jays has 10 lifetime homers and a .300 career average.
It seems like every time we put Victor's career numbers up against some of the opponents we've played lately, he's got major numbers, well above .300 with a lot of damage. Having a great year, batting .350 with 9 homers and 34 already driven in this season.
And Martinez came into this game leading the American League at .352. Long way to go to win a batting title. Victor has never won one in the major leagues, but a couple of them in the minor leagues. Little chopper back up the middle. They hadn't played nicely, though. Travis throws him out. One gone here in the Tiger third. Well, it's a perfect Father's Day gift. Detroit Tigers fantasy batting practice at Comerica Park. Hit pitches from former Tiger pitcher Dave Rozema, shag fly balls, and enjoy over 3 hours on the field at Comerica Park. If you'd like more information, visit tigers.com or call 313-471-2550. Here's JD. That floats outside. Jay Happ is desperate for a quick inning. He almost threw 40 pitches in that second. .1-0 is a chopper to the right side, and it's going to find a hole just out of the reach of Devon Travis. Little seeing-eyed single the other way for Martinez. Here's Castellanos. I wonder how that inning might have been different in the second had Pilar not misplayed that ball that Castellanos hit.
He had been 2 out, nobody on.
It was a deep drive to center, and Pilar started in and then realized, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. It went to the warning track and then to the wall. One on, one out. Nick came into this game just 1 for 11 on the homestand. The triple was his second of the season to go with 10 doubles, or 10 homers rather, and 13 doubles. Little chopper to the shortstop, might be 2. Barney to second, 1 relay, not in time. That was almost the 13th double play induced by Jay Happ.
Happ has a knack for throwing that ground ball. And when he's got a runner on first base, less than a couple of outs. Good two-seam fastball, bottom of the strike zone.
Upton walked in, scored in the first. Justin with 4 hits on the homestand. Looks at a strike and out quickly behind in the count, 0-2. Tigers got to Jay Happ for a 4 spot in the second. The highlight was the home run by McCann. Just a tad outside, 1-2 on Upton. Back to monitor that time. That missed inside. Level the count, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That wind really blowing out toward left field here today.
Sliced foul the other way.
Anything hit to left field with any authority whatsoever is going to carry out with all that wind.
Ooh, that one just missed, and Happ wanted it badly. Didn't get it, though. 3-2.
Justin's had a couple of decent at-bats in this contest so far. He walked his first time up, and now he's taking the count now to 3-2 after falling behind no balls and 2 strikes against Happ.
3 really good at-bats in the win yesterday against the White Sox.
That's right.
Runner will go on 3-2, and it's hit in the air to right. And turning on that ball, and it is
Homer.
gone, a home run. Bautista played it off the wall, but it's out of here. It's an opposite field 2-run shot. Upton stopped at first. He wasn't sure.
Look out, J.Up. 3 real good at-bats yesterday. A couple of outstanding at-bats today. Good to see.
John Gibbons coming out now, the manager of the Blue Jays. They're going to want to take a look at this, see where it landed.
It's definitely a home run.
That's a home run. Taking a look at it. J.F. said, is that a homer? Is that a single? What do I have here? There's Larry Vanover.
I'm going to write down homer, partner.
Well, it's pretty clear, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it hit the grating, the railing up above the yellow line. And the Blue Jays apparently either saw something different or they're just going to take a shot in the dark here. But right now it's a 2-run shot, and that would be Upton's 4th of the year. That did not take very long. It's about a shorter review of what we've seen.
Happ has really only had one bad start this year. He had a start where he gave up 8 runs to the Tampa Bay Rays on May 18th. Other than that, 3 runs or less in all of his outings, but he's given up a 5-6 spot here today.
6 runs on 6 hits. McCann drives one foul, 0-1. 2 Tigers homers against Happ in this game. We mentioned he was on a roll in which he had given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 20 of his last 21. And he's already at 6 allowed in this game.
He had made 11 starts this year, and in 11 starts, 10 of those were quality starts.
He is catching the Tigers offense at the wrong time. There's a strike on the outside corner. 1-2 on McCann.
That had to feel good to Justin.
Last 2 days have had to feel good. He's starting to get it rolling now. Two on McCann. JD continues to write in his book. Swing and a miss. He chased out of the zone, and that'll end the inning. But the Tigers pad the lead. They get a couple more on the 2-run shot by Justin Upton over the wall in right, and it's all Tigers so far tonight.
John's freaky fast delivery of the game. Michael Fulmer's been on point here again tonight with that power fastball in the mid-90s. He's also thrown some exceptional breaking balls when he's found himself in the count to do so. And he's thrown some good changeups as well to the left-handed batters, fading down and away from the lefties. His stuff today, Mario, has been as good as his previous 4 starts.
Which is great to see as he goes back to work here in the 4th inning. Michael Saunders leads it off. It's going to be Saunders, Smoke, and Martin here in the top of the 4th. 6-0. Tigers have the lead tonight. Bouncer right back to Fulmer. 1 out. That'll bring up Justin Smoke.
Fulmer pretty cool, calm, and collected. Look what I found.
Blue Jays came into this game with a 3.59 team ERA, the best in the American League, but the Tigers have scored 6 against them tonight. Smoke 0 for 1 with a flyout.
Toronto just left Boston, where that Boston Red Sox has a lethal offense as well. And Tigers offense starting to click on all cylinders, especially here at Comerica Park. I've always liked this guy's skill set, man. Justin Smoke. When I first saw him come up with the Texas Rangers, I thought he was going to be a perennial all-star and a guy that hit 30 and drove in 100 every year. It hasn't gone that well for him, but he's found a home in Toronto. He's an outstanding defender at first base, and his offensive numbers aren't bad.
Small part of that Cliff Lee deal that was consummated several years ago, and he went to Seattle, but could never really put it together consistently. You got to like his size and, you know, the fact that he's a really good defensive first baseman.
Out of Goose Creek, South Carolina. Went to the same high school as Matt Wieters, the catcher of the Baltimore Orioles. Good pitch. McCann thought it was strike 3, but Larry Vanover didn't give it to him. McCann was ready to fire it around the infield.
He almost let it go, too. Could have been called a strike.
Absolutely. Where is it?
A shade inside.
And Larry was on that side of the plate, too. He had a good look at that.
Well, that's strike 3. Now you can throw it, James. 2 outs.
What's making him so tough to hit these days is he's throwing you this changeup now that he's releasing out in front. And he gives you the same arm speed as the fastball, and he's throwing it out of the same window. Who said his changeup wasn't any good?
Yeah, no doubt.
He just had to throw it.
There are some guys that can just do it, and some guys that just struggle to get that pitch in their repertoire and really command it and be able to throw it for strikes and with confidence. Fulmer has done it very rapidly here at the major league level.
96 with that heater right there. Working quick, too. Taking very little time getting back on that rubber.
Russell Martin is 0 for 1. Three and 1 now on the catcher Martin. Devin Travis waiting on deck. Tigers 6 runs, 6 hits. Jays no runs, 1 hit. Three and 2. Fly ball in the air toward left. Justin Upton is under it. Going to be a 1-2-3 inning for Michael Fulmer. It is time now for T-Mobile's greater coverage of baseball. Did you see Jose Fernandez on Sunday night against the Mets?
7 innings, man. He punched out 14.
Mike Messina, Brad Penny, Yu Darvish, the other players with 14 strikeouts, issuing a walk without a walk in a start of 7 innings or fewer. I mean, he was absolutely dealing. And when we saw Jose Fernandez early on in the season, not quite as good as he was last night.
No, Saltalamacchia got him for a big home run in that game.
That's belted down the left field line. This one has a chance to go, and it is fouled.
Iglesias tried to ambush him.
It had home run distance, but he yanked it.
Iglesias doesn't hit many. He's got 1 big fly this year.
And ironically, it came against Max Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
On that night where Scherzer struck out 1,000. The 0-1 is hammered to center. Pilar is on the move. Still going, and he'll run it down.
He runs down everything literally in center field. So it was very surprising earlier in this contest when he misplayed that line drive off the bat of Castellanos.
That'll bring up Ian Kinsler. The lights haven't fully taken effect here at the ballpark. The sun is shining out beyond the center field wall, which has given the stadium a really cool backdrop tonight.
That does look sweet. Almost looks fake.
I know. It's legit. Kinsler, a single and a pop-up, and he looks at a strike right at the knees. Jay Happ now is at 70 pitches. We're only in the 4th. The 0-1. So Kinsler now with 48 runs scored. He came in 2nd in the American League. He is on pace to score 134 runs this year. Oh, 2.
72 total pitches thrown so far tonight by Jay Happ, and nearly 70% of those have been fastballs. And the Tigers have an outstanding fastball team. That's why he's trailing 6-0.
They got him with 4 in the 2nd and 2 in the 3rd. A pair of homers tonight. McCann 3-run shot. Upton 2-run shot. And Kinsler giving Happ fits.
Yeah, I don't know how Ian got a piece of that last breaking ball. That was nasty.
Ground ball, 3rd base side. Donaldson running scoop. 2 gone in the 4th. And now Cameron MAYBIN. 75 now for Jay Happ. You know what the J and the A stands for in Happ's name?
No, I do not.
James Anthony.
James Anthony.
But he wants to pronounce J. Jay Happ. Strike 1 on MAYBIN. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Popped up. Shallow left field. The shortstop Barney is under it, calling. And that's going to be a 1-2-3 for Jay Happ. Tigers have had a couple of big blows in this game. James McCann, 3-run shot in the 2nd, and then Upton goes deep in the 3rd.
Night in America returns as the Tigers take on the Yankees at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox, and the Indians battle the Angels in a game that can only be seen on FS1 at 9:30 Eastern. Or if you'd like, you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Michael Fulmer goes back to the hill in a 6-0 ball game as we play here in the 5th inning. Devon Travis leads it off. Bottom 3 facing Fulmer, and it's drilled to center field right at MAYBIN. 1 out. Check in now with Mickey York.
Hey, Mario, you think a guy with his face on a box of cereal would want to talk about it. Not so for Jose Bautista. Bautista tweeted out a picture the other day of himself eating a bowl of Golden Grams. On the box of that Golden Grams is an image of him depicting his infamous bat flip from last year's ALDS. Well, he loves Golden Grams. He's honored to be on the cover, he told me, but he's wary that talking about it will lead to a series of questions about that bat flip from guys like me. And you may recall that the bat flip is not all that popular with everybody, namely Rube Negdor and the Texas Rangers. So Bautista prefers to just let that go. He doesn't want it to be a distraction for his team anymore. So lesson learned, words to the wise. Don't ask Jose Bautista what's for breakfast anymore, Mario.
You're trying to stir things up there, Mick.
No, I did not.
He
was very polite about it. we just couldn't talk about the Golden Grams.
Well, here's the bat flip.
Epic bat flip.
And the best of all time.
I had no problem with it.
The whole place was shaken in the postseason last year in Toronto.
You hit one like that, you could do whatever you want to do.
Man, was that place loud.
Oh, my goodness.
2 outs as Darwin Barney steps in. Meanwhile, Michael Fulmer cruising along here.
I don't think there's a place as electric as the Rogers Center when they've got a good team.
Sold out crowd when they're playing well, I would agree. Something about domes that it holds the noise obviously a little bit better. Place shakes. Right past Fulmer. Kinsler's quick throw is not in time. Infield hit for Darwin Barney.
Well, this was May 15th, and you usually do not see brawls like this. After a very hard slide, Odor took offense to it. He pushed him, and then he gave him a right cross that Bautista probably still feels. He didn't go down, though.
He didn't go down, which absolutely stunned me. But the more and more you watch that, had Beltre not been there, that could have been ugly. Bautista in the game with a walk and a pop-up. And the outer edge. Strike 1. MGM Grand Detroit brings you the scouting report on Bautista. Since 1916 against the Tigers, .356.
With a lot of extra base hit damage, too.
That list goes back a long way, and he is on it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1 the count.
Yeah, you wonder if he'll throw him a fastball here, if he'll throw him a slider or a changeup. He does and has been developing a lot of confidence in his off-speed stuff. And they're going to go with the breaking ball. I love the call. Oh, I love it. He releases that thing out in front too consistently, which makes sure that he doesn't make many mistakes with that pitch. This might be 97. This might be the best fastball tonight.
Missed it outside. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and with 2 outs, Darwin Barney will be on the move.
By throwing him that 2-1 changeup, if you're Bautista, you don't quite know what you're going to get here. You should be looking for a fastball, but you don't know whether you're going to get it or not, whether you might get a breaking ball. And McCann's playing games with him by shaking off, playing further games with him. And he's going to finish him off with a changeup.
Rolled foul.
It's amazing how he went from in his first 4 starts having no confidence whatsoever. in that changeup to now throwing it in counts where it's 2-1 and also 3-2 counts.
No, I mean that's what I was saying. It's just you don't normally see a guy the light just flip on like that very quickly, and him gaining confidence in actually doing it and executing it. Runner goes again on 3-2. Swing and a miss. 95 at the belt. See you later. Strikeout number 3 for Michael Fulmer. Tigers baseball tonight presented by Bell Tire. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by the Sam Bernstein Law Firm, official legal services sponsor of Fox Sports Detroit. Bell Tire, get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. And by Chevrolet, more than you expect for less than you imagine. Jay Happ goes back to work in a 6-0 ball game. Tigers batting in the bottom of the 5th. Miguel Cabrera leading it off, and then Victor Martinez and J.D. Martinez. On the edge for a strike, 1-1 on Miggy. Fly out strikeout for Cabrera tonight. Happ had a 1-2-3 fourth. 2-1. Cabrera came into this game hitting .400 at home, which was the best in the American League. Action the Jays pen, Gavin Floyd.
Well-traveled Gavin Floyd.
When he was with the White Sox, I thought, man, he was going to be one of the best starters in baseball.
Every time he went out there, man, he had no-hit stuff with that fastball, mid-90s, with that real good curveball.
On the outside corner, barely 3-2.
Miggy has not taken the bat off of his shoulder. He has taken 5 straight pitches.
Ground ball. The shortstop Barney has been busy tonight. 1 away.
Darwin's been playing some pretty good baseball for John Gibbons. Gibbons would be the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, and Barney's played everywhere. Troy Tulowitzki is on the disabled list these days, so, and Darwin getting some reps at shortstop. And Tulowitzki, man, he just can't stay healthy.
No, he can't. Tremendous talent. Here's Victor Martinez. A couple of ground balls from Martinez tonight. A little bit outside, 1-0. First of 3 between these two clubs. Then the Tigers hit the road for a lengthy 3-city tour.
Going to see some good teams when they head on the road trip. Chicago stubbed its toe, but they'll be playing better the next time we see them. We will not see that same Chicago team that was here this weekend. Kansas City's always good, and the Yankees are always tough in their ballpark.
Here's the 1-1.
But when the Tigers get off the bus, they got a pretty good team too.
We know that Chicago is going to have Shields at that point, and Melky Cabrera should be back. Right now the Tigers 3.5 out.
And Cleveland plays in the Pacific Northwest this evening against the Seattle Mariners team that's pretty good.
Lifted back out of play. Really kind of surprised, and I know, yes, the Indians have good pitching, but I'm surprised without Brantley. They've been able to score enough runs to win.
True that. They've gotten some nice production out of Napoli, though. Napoli's played well. The kid Lindor has been spectacular. And that Naquin kid just came back up from the minor leagues, had a nice weekend.
Yeah. Here's the 1-2. Into the glove for strike 3.
You know something else the Indians are doing that they did a few years ago very well down the stretch when they got into the postseason? They're winning a lot of games late in dramatic fashion. They've got a lot of confidence right now late in games.
They're just not drawing very many people. Good crowd on hand here tonight at Comerica Park on a gorgeous evening. J.D. Martinez. Ball 1. The Indians are averaging a little over 15,000 a night in their ballpark.
It's not good for a team that's playing as well as they're playing.
No, that is the lowest total in the American League.
Where'd all the Indians fans go? Because they used to sell that place out.
Watching LeBron these days.
That's right.
That's down the right field line, heading toward the corner, and caught. Bautista almost overran it.
It's a lot of wind up there, pushing anything hit up in the air in that direction is going to come back into the field of play.
1, 2, 3, 5th inning. Michael Fulmer is on a roll, and he will go back to work here in the 6th inning. Josh Donaldson will lead it off. The Tigers have given him a 6-0 lead tonight. And Donaldson looks at a strike.
That's Fulmer's get me over breaking ball. That's not the nasty one. That's not the one he throws with 2 strikes. That's the one he throws in an 0-0 count when he wants a strike.
Little ground ball slowly hit towards short on the move. Iglesias. One up and one down here in the 6th. But what kind of role has Michael been on? How about this? Since 1976, the longest scoreless innings pitch streak as a starter.
He's in some good company with Justin Verlander and the Bird, Mark Fidrich.
Put that out there. It's 21 2/3 now. Here's Encarnacion.
Encarnacion nearly hit one out of here the opposite way his last time up, and really he does not hit many balls in that direction, but he caught up one, and JD had to run it down the base of the wall.
One ball, one strike. Encarnacion had 25 RBIs in the month of May, which was among the best in the American League. He came in with 46 total. Strike on the outer edge. Pulled to left, but foul. Two and two, the count stays on Encarnacion. Hit into a double play in the first, and he hit that deep fly ball that Rod talked about in the third. And a swing and a miss to strike out here in the 6th. Time for a game break now, and Johnny Kane. All right, Johnny, thanks. The Orioles come in tied with Boston for the lead in the American League East.
Danny Duffy has outstanding stuff. And for a left-hander, fastball gets all the way up to 97 miles an hour. His issues have been control problems lately. But man, does he have a good arm.
Michael Saunders. Didn't he pitch out of the bullpen late last year? I think they threw him back in the bullpen.
He was pitching out of the bullpen as well when you guys made that first trip to Kansas City this year.
Yeah. Swing and a miss.
Michael Fulmer is 17 of 22 in first pitch strikes. And that is the main reason why he is absolutely dealing here tonight against this Blue Jay offense. 17 of 22.
Foul ball. Fulmer has not lost a start since May the 5th in Cleveland, so he's been on quite a roll. He's had a couple of no decisions mixed in, but he's doing it again tonight, scattering only 2 hits.
I remember when Fulmer first got to the big leagues, and Brad was saying we're going to give him 1 start, and then we'll see from there. Here he is about 6 weeks later.
That turned into 2.
Yeah.
Then 3.
We're going to give him a start, and then we'll see.
Here's the 2-2.
Oh, nasty. Do it, Michael Fulmer. I see you.
5 strikeouts now for Fulmer. A 1-2-3 6th inning.
Absolutely filthy tonight.
Cruise control mode as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Here's the big boys, big plays of the game. A misplay by Pilar in center field gave Castellanos a triple, then a walk to Jay up, followed by a big fly for James McCann. And then this inning just got crazy. You had the balk with a runner on first, and then you had the cross up, and then you had a wild pitch, and that gave the Tigers 4 runs in the inning.
Hey, somebody run out there and give me my pot of gold. A double rainbow out there beyond the center field wall.
A double rainbow?
Pretty cool. You got to look hard, but it's pretty neat. Hey, wall side windows pitching change now. Here's Gavin Floyd.
He's been in 19 games this year. He checks in with a 2-4 record. He has 3 holes and earned run average sits at .391. He's got quite a few strikeouts, and he really hasn't walked that many, and his whip is under 1. So Floyd pitching some decent baseball for Toronto.
And Floyd will face Castellanos to get it started here. The Tigers 6 runs on 6 hits. Michael Fulmer, meanwhile, no runs, 2 hits allowed.
He's been absolutely filthy tonight, Michael Fulmer.
Castellanos, Upton, and McCann 6, 7, 8 in the lineup. Ripped to center field, base hit, maybe more. Pilar is over there to backhand it, and it gets by him and goes all the way to the warning track. Castellanos will hold up at second. He thought about going to third, and then the ball's whiffed in short center field by Travis.
It's a 93-mile-per-hour fastball hit right on the screws by Castellanos. And Pilar, man, we talked about him at the beginning of the game. Wilson gave him an award last year. He was the best defensive player in the American League last year, according to Wilson.
He's having a tough night.
He is having a tough night tonight.
Justin Upton. He is not having a tough night. A walk, a steal, a 2-run homer, and 2 runs scored.
It's a base hit EA, right?
Single E8, you are correct, sir. I wonder if Castellanos would have gone to second had that ball been fielded cleanly anywhere. Because Pilar had to run a long way to get to that ball.
I don't think so. He wasn't running that hard out of the batter's box.
Second hit of the night for Castellanos. Here's the 0-2. There's a base hit to center field. Castellanos coming around. Here's Pilar's throw. It is cut off. An RBI single for J-Up. 3rd RBI of the night.
That is 4 hits in the last couple of days for Justin Upton with 5 RBI. And it's good to see him swinging the bat. You know his teammates are elated for him because in the month of April and the month of May, he just really struggled. And Dave Clark very aggressive with Castellanos running on Pilar. Pilar is very accurate with his arm, but doesn't have a real strong throwing arm. And Justin Upton just continues to barrel up everything in the strike zone.
Fulmer gets another run to work with. 7-0 Tigers in this game. Here's McCann. It is 8 hits now for the Tigers. Upton and McCann doing a lot of damage in this game. Awkward swing there by McCann. 0-2.
What was that, Jay?
I'm not sure it qualifies as a swing. He is down to the count 0-2. And that'll get away from Martin all the way to the backstop, advance the runner. This has been a sloppy game tonight for the Jays.
Here is the Magic Moonshot presented by Magic Window, and it was a couple of ABs ago for James McCann. He got a breaking ball from the left-handed starter Jay Happ and hit it over the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. That ball left McCann's bat at 102 miles an hour. That's exactly what he's writing in that book.
The exit velocity? 1-2. Ooh, he froze him that time, got him on strikes.
That's one thing that Gavin Floyd has always had. He's had that real good yellow hammer, that curveball. Pretty tall guy, too, about 6'5", and he throws it from the highest point. And the ball has tremendous depth, usually.
Here is Iglesias. Well, the Tigers came home after a rocky road trip, and they lost that makeup game to the New York Yankees, a game that was frustrating because it looked like they were going to win it late against Chapman. But boy, they responded nicely to that. Been a lot of disappointment at times this year, but they've been able to cut it off.
Right.
Way outside, 1-1. Through it all, Brad Ausmus has maintained a level hand, which has been difficult at times.
This team's been streaky. Up and down, up and down.
I know Verlander made the comments after his start yesterday that he feels his team is really starting to gel now, and part of the reason they're starting to gel is his performance.
Well, all the starters are doing a pretty good job. Fulmer's done his part. They just got Zimmerman back. The offense has done enough. Pelfrey has been good too.
He has. Two and two on Iglesias.
2 earned runs yesterday. Given up by Justin Verlander. He had 8 strikeouts. He walked just 1 in 7 innings through 104 pitches. And I was asking him specifically today about that pitch he's throwing at 89, 90 miles an hour. And he says it's a slider. He says it is not a cutter.
Driven to left field and caught on the move by Saunders.
He did say that he holds it a little tighter and he throws it a little harder. Therefore, it's not as much of a spin. It doesn't get much depth, but it's more east to west in the strike zone. But he says it's his slider.
Here's Ian Kinsler. Seven 0. Tigers have added one more on the Upton RBI single. Gavin Floyd came on here in the 6th inning in place of Jay Happ, who had retired the last 7 straight that he had faced, but the damage had been done at that point. Here's the 1-0.
It's a good pitch there by Floyd. 94 miles an hour, bottom of the strike zone. Gavin still has a good arm. It's been 94, 95 with his heater. He still has that real good breaking ball. That 12-6 curveball.
Pulled into left, base hit. Upton to third. They're going to try and score him. Here's the throw to the plate. It is not in time. And to second base goes Kinsler. 8-0 Tigers.
Ian Kinsler just kills fastballs that are inside. Everything inside this year that he has got, he has just simply barreled it up to the pull field.
And ho hum, another multi-hit game for Kinsler.
Good balance. He gets set with that front foot in a hurry.
Cameron Maybin's been on base 2 more times tonight, a walk and a single. Tigers now have 8 runs on 9 hits. Way outside. They're getting the wave going now here at the ballpark. Two 2-0 on MAYBIN. Tigers had 5 straight games of 10 or more hits, and they need 1 more here tonight to make it 6 straight. Here's a 2-1 ground ball back up the middle. Barney sprawling play will have no chance.
There it is.
Infield hit makes it 10 on the night for the Tigers. And MAYBIN's just getting it done in all kinds of ways. That is his 10th multi-hit game in this ballpark. He's only been here a couple of weeks.
Not over swinging, and just taking what the opposing pitcher has been willing to give him. If you go inside against MAYBIN, he'll pull it, but by and large, he's trying to hit the ball right back up the middle or the other way.
Swing and a miss. Cabrera's 0 for 3. Got a chance here with the runners at first and third already. 8-0 Tigers. Here's the 0-1. Miggy tonight is strikeout, fly out, ground out. He came into this game with a 7-game hitting streak and hitting .400 at home this year. Way outside, 2-1.
Gavin Floyd has really good numbers against Cabrera. In his career, Miggy hitting just .239 against Gavin Floyd in 46 at-bats.
To center field, Pilar not going to get there. It'll drop in, base hit. Another run scores as KINSLER comes in. MAYBIN goes to third, and Cabrera has knocked in a run.
You like that reverse psychology?
I love it. It works, but you won't get credit for it.
It's good to see Miggy get into the act, because really the last couple of days since he tweaked his back, he really hadn't been swinging the bat all that efficiently. He'll take that base hit right there.
And that'll make it an 8-game hitting streak now for Cabrera. Tigers pouring it on now. It is a 9-0 ball game. Pete Walker, another quick visit to the mound. Fans, don't forget to buy 1 ticket, get a second one free to see the Tigers take on the Seattle Mariners June 20th through the 23rd. To purchase, visit tigers.com/BOGO. More action in the bullpen. Genie warming up, the right-hander, and he's warming up rather quickly. Gavin Floyd came on here in the 6th inning. The Tigers have pounded him pretty good. That'll bounce in, and Martin able to stop that one.
Russell Martin going to have to ice his body after this one. He's been getting beat up back there tonight.
RBIs in this inning for Upton, KINSLER, and Cabrera. A 3-run 6th. Victor 0 for 3. And that's going to get through, Martin. Oh, MAYBIN thought about coming home. He got about halfway down, then the ball bounced right back to Martin.
It's a good read there by Cameron. Meanwhile, MIGUEL was able to scoot down in the scoring position from first. We've seen a lot of balls here at Comerica Park this year on wild pitches and balls that get past the catcher and bounce back to the catcher rather quickly.
3 wild pitches and 1 pass ball in this game now for Toronto. That new brick wall behind home plate. Balls are getting back there quickly. Way outside. 3-0. This has turned into a tough inning for Gavin Floyd, who has thrown a total of 28 pitches. Vimart can drive in 2 more with a base hit. And he walked him, ball 4. That'll load the bases. That's going to be it for Gavin Floyd. He will not survive the 6th inning. Wallside windows pitching change. Biagini will be coming into this ball game. The rookie. Floyd will depart, and we'll be back to Comerica Park. Upton continues to bust out of it. 2 out of 2 with a 2-run shot in this game. James McCann 3-run homer early, and Michael Fulmer, well, he has done the rest. He has been absolutely outstanding again tonight.
5 strikeouts for Fulmer in the game tonight. He has walked 3, but he's nearly first pitch strike tonight on every single Toronto Blue Jay.
Meanwhile, the Jays go back to the bullpen. They've got the rookie coming in now, the right-hander, Joe Biagini.
(3-1) for Biagini in 18 contests. ERA sits at 1.25, and whip shade over 118 strikeouts, 7 walks. Tigers bat around here in the 6th.
Martinez against Biagini with the bases full. 3-run 6th here for the Tigers. And a broken bat roller toward third, going to hit the bag. Donaldson, though, will run it down and get the force. Eugenie needed one pitch. Tigers have blown it open. And that's going to be it for Michael Fulmer. He's going to lead with a 9-0 lead, but 6 awesome innings again here tonight.
Well, the reason why Fulmer is leaving the game, he threw 124 innings last year in 3 stops in the Mets and the Tigers organization. And the Tigers, what they're going to do with him the remainder of the way. Anytime they have an opportunity to ease his innings, they're going to do it. And that's just what they're doing here today. He's only pitched 6 innings. He's got a lot left in his tank, but anytime you can shave a couple of innings off, Mario, they're going to do it.
Shave a couple here, shave a couple there, and you can control the total innings at the end of the year.
They might even, before the All-Star break, they might shut him down for about 5-6 days, and then once the Tigers come back from the All-Star break, he won't pitch until the last possible day that he can pitch. It's just some of the things that you have to do with the younger pitchers, and the Tigers probably will not let him get much above 140, 150 in the inning department this year.
Alex Wilson comes on now to face Justin Smoke, and the first one is grounded right into the shift. It'll be a 5-3 ground out. Castellanos makes the play.
And another reason why Brad took him out of the game is he's got to get some of his other bullpen pieces going. He's got to get Wilson going. He's got to get him straightened out. He's got to get Lowe straightened out in the bullpen, and this is the perfect day to do it.
Well, good start for Wilson. 1 pitch, 1 out. Russell Martin will step in.
I was kind of digging watching Fulmer pitch, though.
I was too, but you got to be smart about it. There's a strike called on Russell Martin.
So that is 3 straight starts that Fulmer has not given up a run.
He went 7 2/3 scoreless against the Angels, 7 2/3 scoreless against the A's, and now here tonight. One ball and 1 strike. Fulmer ends up throwing 88 pitches.
And nothing stressful about any of the 88 pitches he threw here this evening.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't even that 1 inning where he got a couple of guys on, had to really bear down.
No traffic. Did they even get a runner to second base?
Well, they got, yeah, Saunders to third.
1 on third, yeah.
That's it. Here's the 2-1. I was talking to Alex Wilson today. Did you know that he's starting to pick up the banjo?
Who's that?
Wilson.
I did not know that.
A lot of guys to this team are learning guitar. I know Saltomaki is playing the guitar a little bit, but Wilson decided he wants to learn how to play the banjo.
Man, you have so much free time. I mean, you have to have some kind of a hobby, or you'll go crazy.
right to the second baseman. I said, why the banjo? And he said, because there's only 4 strings and you pluck it, you don't have to strum it. Easier to learn. Hey, if you're a baseball fan, you need the all-new Fox Sports app. And you can get highlights, interviews, injury updates, scores, and instant alerts on your favorite teams and the rivals. Download now at the iOS App Store, Google Play, or visit foxsports.com/app. 2 gone for Devon Travis. Strike 1 on Travis.
This might be a game to get Anibal Sanchez in.
Good one. Yep, we were talking about that before the game, and Brad said there really has not been a spot where he's felt comfortable getting him in. This could be it.
Well, if he don't feel comfortable with this spot, he will never feel comfortable.
It's about as low leverage as you can get right here. Here's the 1-1.
Gonna have to give him plenty of time to warm up, though.
Travis ground out and a fly out. Tigers lead 9-0 in the 7th. Two and 2 on Devon Travis. Well, there you go.
Yeah, see, he has to start warming up now to come in next inning. Whereas guys that are in the bullpen, they don't even start warming up until maybe 1 out. The next half inning, but Anibal needs that much time to get hot to get into the game for the 8th inning.
Full count now, 3 and 2 on Travis. Kevin Pillar waiting on deck. Tigers did early damage in this one, a 4-run second, 2-run third. And then added 3 more in the 6th. To right field, slicing away from JD. And it's going to drop foul. Didn't miss by a whole lot.
Sure did not.
Travis, originally a draft pick of the Tigers back in 2012, 13th round, and then worked himself into the top prospect status for the Tigers when he was traded to the Blue Jays.
He can hit.
Bouncer to second, and Wilson's going to have himself a 1, 2, 3 inning. 3 ground ball outs. Coming up, the Consumers Energy 7th inning stretch.
Presented by Gordon Chevrolet. Tomorrow, game 2 in this series. Aaron Sanchez and Matt Boyd.
Aaron Sanchez probably has the best stuff on the Blue Jays staff. He's got a fastball that gets all the way up to 97 miles an hour, an outstanding breaking ball, and he's got great numbers.
Got a new pitcher now for the Blue Jays, a former Tiger, and that is Jason Grilli.
They just acquired Jason Grilli from the Atlanta Braves. And Grilli's one of those guys that's going to provide some veteran leadership for their bullpen. They're hoping that he can solidify the 8th inning. They've had a difficult time solidifying that inning. And we talked about the fact that he provides some leadership for a by and large very young bullpen. LaTroy Hawkins was in that bullpen last year. He provided some leadership. And he retired. Now it's Grilli and to lead the young relievers.
He's got a great Twitter handle, Grilli Cheese 49. Yeah. Swing and a miss by Castellanos. Couple of other changes for the Jays. Josh Tolley is the new catcher behind the dish. New third baseman is Matt Dominguez. And the new right fielder is former Tiger Ezekiel Carrera. It's been a good night for Nick. He's scored 3 times, couple of hits, single and a triple.
Jason Grilli said growing up the Toronto Blue Jays were his favorite team.
Swing and a miss.
His dad Steve wore the Blue Jay uniform. So father and son combination wearing the Toronto Blue Jays uniform.
Jason, meanwhile, has worn many uniforms. Pittsburgh, Tigers, Rockies, Atlanta, Florida, Texas, Angels, White Sox, now Toronto.
So that's 2 teams that Jason and his dad Steve played for. Tigers and Toronto.
Right. Good point. The 0-2.
People could say what they want to say, and he did not get a lot of credit, but that 2016 Grilli pitched well out of the bullpen that year for the Tigers.
Ask Jim Leland what he thinks about Grilli.
Getting the ball to Zamai and some of those other guys at the back end, but he was tremendous that year. Out of nowhere.
1-2.
And he took the ball every night.
The breaking ball missing low. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Castellanos. Grilli appeared in 21 games with the Atlanta Braves, had an ERA north of 5.
He was probably elated to get out of Atlanta.
Ooh, no doubt. That's a team that's going to have a long summer. They are 16-40. Swing and a miss, and Castellanos' flat-footed swing is out of there. Justin Upton will stand in, and he homered back in the 3rd.
Take a look at the cricket. Something to smile about.
That's something to smile about. Jay Up hadn't been able to smile a whole lot first 2 months of the year, but he's grinning now. Upton has 3 runs driven in tonight. That'll get back out of play. Tigers pitching tonight has allowed just 2 hits to this Blue Jays offense. 2 of them, that's it.
The Blue Jays offense has been struggling a little bit to get hits. They've had no problem hitting the ball out of the ballpark because they have a lot of guys that have a lot of power. But from a batting average standpoint, we talked about the fact they came in with a .237 batting average as a team, which is the poorest in the American League. And they have a lot more talent than that.
They sure do. 1 ball, 1 strike. Grilli's career began with Florida, and then he moved to the White Sox before joining the Tigers in 2005. Here's the 1-1.
Grilli still has a good arm. 93, 94 with his fastball. He has some closing experience.
Saved 24 games with Atlanta last season.
Saved quite a few with Pittsburgh too.
And he got him in the outside corner. Upton not so sure that was a strike.
That's back-to-back strikeouts for Jason Grilli.
Yeah, Justin might have had a beef there. Now McCann, whose 3-run homer got the Tigers offense jump-started early. That'll dive in for a strike. 0-1. McCann's home run was his 3rd of the season. He had a 3-hit game on Friday against the White Sox. One ball, one strike. What's Miggy doing?
Having fun. There they are.
It's a pretty potent combo right there. Drill to center field, base hit. McCann taking the turn. He's going for 2. And the throw not in time. Double James McCann.
That's how you get a hustling double. As soon as James McCann hit that ball into left center field, he knew where Pilar, the center fielder, was playing. And because he was shading him into right center field, he knew he could get himself a double. But look at the hustle here.
That'll bring up Iglesias. 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of extra base hits for McCann. Fouled out of play. 0-1 on Jose Iglesias. So the Tigers, with their win yesterday, were able to crawl back to 500. They can get back up over 500 with a win here tonight, and they're in pretty good shape to do that.
Iglesias, the only Tiger that hasn't been on the base pass here tonight.
Again, back into the seats.
Sanchez should be ready to go. And he probably will pitch 2 innings here tonight.
It's got to be strange for him warming up in the middle of a game. Oh, 2 on Iglesias. Look out. Ooh, man.
That got somebody.
No balls, 2 strikes. Last time the Tigers were over 500 was May the 27th. And it looks like they'll get there tonight. And again the 0-2. Another foul back out of play. Didn't go, I don't believe. Nope, he held up. David Rackley at first base said he did not go. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 12 Tigers hits tonight. Iglesias and Victor Martinez, the only Tigers without one. Victor has a walk. Now Grilly with the 1-2, bouncing ball right side. Fielded there by Smoke. Shovel toss. Safe at first base.
Jason Grilly was late breaking for first base, a cardinal sin. And Justin Smoke, he was not going to beat Iglesias to the bag, so he had to give it to Grilly, but Grilly got such a late break. Iglesias gets another infield single.
Will extend his hitting streak to 6 in a row.
Yeah, Grilly did not take off right away. John Gibbons, manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, still deciding whether to test it or not, but it looks like Iglesias is safe.
That'll put runners at first and third.
Now every Tiger has been on the base paths tonight.
Kinsler has been on base a couple of times, 2 singles, 2 runs scored, plus an RBI. Thirteen Tigers hits in this game. Ian looks at ball 1. Tigers starting to pile up some hitting streaks now. Miggy extended his to 8. Iglesias at 6. MAYBIN at 7. Here's the 1-0. Michael Fulmer outstanding again tonight, and he's on his way to picking up another victory. He'll run his record to 6-1.
He's in chill mode now.
Way outside. Tolley had to go out there to get it. 2 balls and 1 strike. Six scoreless tonight for Fulmer, which gives him a streak as well of 22 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Here's the 2-1.
Here's our high-speed pitch, and it is brought to you by Xfinity on Michael Fulmer. He touched 96 here with his heater tonight, and as low as 84 with an off-speed pitch.
See the other Tigers young gun as well tomorrow. Matt Boyd will get another start, the left-hander for Detroit. Swing and a miss. Kinsler is out of there, and Grilly retires side. No runs, couple of hits, and 2 men left, and a good play in the stands using your hat. That a way to get it done.
Well, if you don't bring your glove, bring that hat.
Tigers baseball presented by Bell Tire.
Well, it's all Tigers here tonight. They lead the Blue Jays in Game 1 in the series. Toronto has managed only 2 hits here tonight, and the Tigers have put up 9 runs on 13 hits. And as we go to the 8th inning, Kevin Pillar will face a new Tigers pitcher, Anibal Sanchez.
And what the Tigers are hoping for from Anibal Sanchez while he's in relief is that he can command his fastball and gain that confidence in his fastball he's had since he's been in a Tigers uniform. Hopefully that velocity also gets back up to 94, 95.
Kevin Pillar is 0 for 2, fly out, ground out. Two balls and no strikes on Pillar. Darwin Barney to follow, and then Ezekiel Carrera. Sanchez with the 2-0. 2-1 on Kevin Pillar.
Pillar went to a D2 school in California, in Cal State Dominguez in Carson, California. And he said his college coach told all the team, he said the reason why you guys are playing D2 baseball is because you weren't good enough to play D1. And he said that fueled him, and it has continued to fuel him until he got to the big leagues. Them college coaches, man, they say anything to you, don't they?
They will tend to focus sometimes on some things to get you motivated.
That's exactly what they do.
Here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss. See you later. He went chasing. And a strikeout there for Mr. Sanchez. One gone. Hey, party suites are a great way to enjoy Tigers baseball with family and friends. All party suites include $300 in food credit and parking. Select suites include visits from former Tigers. Visit tigers.com/groups or call 313-471-BALL. Darwin Barney stands in. A couple of singles. Storin warming up in the Blue Jays bullpen. Blue Jays pretty much waving the white flag. They've taken some of their starters out. Bautista out of the game. Donaldson out of the game. Russell Martin out of the game. Tigers a commanding 9-0 lead.
You don't get many opportunities during the course of the regular season, as John Gibbons was afforded here today. A lopsided game, his team not going to come back. And you might as well get a couple of your regulars off their feet, guys that play every single day.
Here's the 2-1. Barney has both of the Toronto hits tonight, both singles. Chopper left side of the infield for Iglesias.
Man, does Iglesias have quick feet. Takes those really short, choppy steps. He stops on a dime and gives MIGUEL a nice, firm throw across the diamond. Iggy's sporting eye black tonight.
Here is Ezekiel Carrera, his first at bat.
Ezekiel has played very well for the Blue Jays, batting .379. 1 homer, 3 driven in. He can play all 3 outfield spots, and he can really run. Former Tiger.
Popped up.
No money to be made up there for Ezekiel, though.
Upton calling and catching, and Sanchez in his first relief appearance gets a 1-2-3. 1-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning here at the ballpark. Mario and Rod at Comerica Park here this evening, where I don't know where to start, Rod. Do we talk about the offense, or do we talk about Fulmer, or do we talk about both of them?
Well, we're going to talk about Fulmer first.
Okay.
His stuff today was lethal. I mean, the fastball got up to 96 miles an hour. He had real good command. He was first pitch strike on just about every Toronto Blue Jay, and he threw some outstanding breaking balls and changeups.
A couple of guys I want to key in on here. McCann, who's starting to feel, I think, a lot better with his ankle. Another home run tonight, and Justin Upton. That's been big for him.
Much better balance for McCann tonight. He seems like he's getting that front foot down, which is allowing him to get some good bat speed. He's doubled, he's homered, he's driven in 3, and then you have Upton, who started yesterday with 2 really good at-bats and had a couple of hits, and he continued that today with a big home run and another base hit. So it's good to see those 2 guys at the bottom of the batting order starting to get it going, and you can see the effect of those 2 getting it going at the bottom. Just a nice turnover to the top of the batting order.
Yeah, and that's something Brad Ausmus has talked about they need more of, as Drew Storen checks in now to do some pitching for the Blue Jays.
Storen's struggling this year. He is much better than a 6.38 ERA.
Cameron MAYBIN leads it off as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Another good night for MAYBIN. On base 3 times, a walk, 2 singles. Tigers hits tonight, and just 2 for the Blue Jays. Storen, a former closer for the Nationals. There's Romine waiting on deck. Little bat for Cabrera. Chopper left side of the infield. Dominguez. 1 out. So Romine now for Miggy. Romine has knocked in 3 this year. Ball 1. Once upon a time, Storen had 43 saves for the Nationals back in 2011. That was his best year. Sliced the other way, but foul. Storen last year had a transition to the setup role when they acquired Jonathan Papelbon in Washington. Swing and a miss.
Nice breaking ball there, and thrown by Storen at 82 miles an hour. Nice speed differential. Fastball up to 93, breaking ball at 82.
Saltalamacchia waiting on deck. He'll pinch hit for Victor Martinez. Ripped right down the right field line, and it's cut off by Carrera, and he'll hold him to a single.
And we were talking about how nasty Michael Fulmer was this evening against Toronto Blue Jays. Bats are bell tire pitch by pitch. He came out, established that fastball real early, about 96, 97, but he used that breaking ball to his advantage. The Blue Jays have a lot of right-handers that love to pull the baseball, and he had real nice command and control on the outside part of the plate and really gave up no hard damage to Blue Jays hitters.
22 1/3 scoreless innings now for Michael Fulmer. He's about to run his record to 6-1.
Good at bat there by Romine, who does not get a chance to play all that often. Comes off the bench, pinch hitting role, and comes up with a big knock. Big knock for him.
2-0 on Saltalamacchia.
Saltalamacchia more than likely will catch tomorrow night's game, so Brad getting him off the bench and getting him an at bat here tonight, which is always a good thing.
Way inside, 3 balls, no strikes.
J.D. Martinez on deck. Four-pitch walk. 2 on and 1 out. Follow the Tigers baseball live with the MLB.com at bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day. Live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Here's J.D. Martinez. Breaking ball up high, 1-0 on J.D.
And J.D. should get a real good fastball to hit here from Storen. Storen really has not been efficient. He's thrown 12 pitches and he has missed the strike zone with 8. But if you get a fastball here, let it go. Why not?
Ground ball fair inside the bag at third base. Romine coming around to score. Saltalamacchia, they're going to wave him home. He will score. It's a 2-run double for J.D. Martinez.
J.D. knew he was going to get a good fastball to hit there because he had just walked Saltalamacchia and he had fallen behind him 1 ball, no strike. So he gets a 92-mile-per-hour tailing fastball inside and he keeps it fair for a double and a couple of stakes.
Tigers just piling it on now. Dominguez stretching out for that ball, just couldn't quite get there. It's 11-0.
Dominguez and J.D. Martinez were teammates in Houston.
Bender drops in for a strike. $15 Tigers hits, only 2 tonight for the Jays. Here's the 0-1. Ground ball to third, foul.
Blue Jays only had 4 hits yesterday in their game in Boston, and they scored 5 runs. All on home runs, as a matter of fact.
Toronto came in having played some pretty good baseball as Blaine Hardy warms up. Jays had won 5 of 6, 10 of 13. All Tigers really from the early going tonight. In fact, Marco Estrada carried a no-hitter into the 8th inning in yesterday's game in Boston. Storen got the first batter, but has given up a single, a walk, and a 2-run double. Here's the 1-2. Justin Upton waiting on deck.
I like the fact that the Tigers are not giving away any at-bats. And we talked about this, Mario, a couple of days ago. The Tigers, since their offense is perked up, they score early and they just continue to score throughout the entire game. Guys are having quality at-bat after quality at-bat. And I know Wally Jr. appreciates that.
You call those tech-on runs, right?
You got that right.
Keep tacking them on. Don't let the other team get off the mat. And they have done that here tonight. Here's the 1-2. It'll get back out of play. Jays came in one of the better road teams in the American League, 17-13, but they are way behind tonight. High towering fly ball to center field. Kevin Pillar is under it. 2 gone.
Here's the 1-800 call, Sam, call of the game. We talked about Justin Upton and the fact that the last couple of nights he has really picked it up. He took a 3-0 pitch yesterday from Jose Quintana, and he ripped that to the pull field and drove in a couple. And then he just kind of continued that here today. Another big hit here today, big home run. He's getting tons of hits. That one was the opposite way, the big fly, but the swings have been real nice, short, quick, and compact for Justin Upton the last couple of nights.
Here's what they say when you have a big night: get greedy. Get
Oh, for sure.
Start piling them up.
He's got some work to do.
Well, yeah,
he knows that.
He came in batting .220, but he's getting to work.
Yeah, he knows he's got some work to do. So he's going to be greedy.
Here's the 1-0. Ground ball right to the third baseman, Dominguez. And that'll end the inning. Tigers played 2 more runs, though, on the double by J.D. Martinez. And as we go to the 9th, Tigers doing it all this evening. A victory is in sight.
All right, Johnny, thank you very much. Michael Fulmer continues to be a great early season story here for the Tigers. We'll talk with him about his latest performance. Justin Upton continues to perk up at the plate. We'll hear from him, and we'll throw in James McCann as well. Lots of guys to talk to after the game on Tigers Live with Johnny Kane and Craig Monroe in the Call Sam studio. For now, back up to the booth to Mario and Rod, guys.
All right, Mick, thanks. Always nice to go into a happy locker room, which will be the case here tonight as Blaine Hardy checks in now for Detroit.
It's also good to see Mick at the ballpark. I usually see Mick in the studio.
You laid him out for a night. That's nice.
Yeah.
Get some fresh air.
Nice night out.
Matt Dominguez leads it off as we go to the 9th inning, and Hardy delivers strike 1. Avila's now at second base for the Tigers, and they're going to hit it right at him. 1 out. Encarnacion will not bat. We'll have a pinch hitter now. Ryan Goins.
It's like a spring training game.
Yeah, pretty much is. Goins for Encarnacion. 169 batting average for Goins, who could play him some defense, but offensively it's been a challenge. That's in a shallow center field. MAYBIN will get there. 2 gone.
One more out to go, and Michael Saunders will stand in. The Tigers' 11 runs tonight is the most they have scored in a game since 15 at Wrigley Field last August. And Fulmer is about to get another victory and run his record to 6-1. Fouled out of play, 0-1. Saunders 0 for 2 with a walk. Ball high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Saunders has 9 home runs this year. 5 of his 9 home runs have come against left-handers.
Did he go? Yes. Alfonso Marquez says it's strike 2. Justin Smoak on deck. Hardy would like to finish it off right here. 2 out, nobody on. Driven deep to right field, way back. Martinez is not going to get there, up against the wall. It's going to roll around. All the way to third goes Saunders, who almost hit another homer against the lefty. Most other parts, and it's gone.
Yeah, for sure.
See, 2 out triple.
It's a 4-seam fastball that's inside. He pulls his hands in nicely and barrels it up, and this ball right over there by the out-of-town scoreboard. I thought for a moment there he was going to get a inside to Parker, but he wasn't running out of the batter's box. Had he been running out of the batter's box, he might have had a shot for an inside to Parker. Or maybe he hit it and he thought it was gone.
1 ball to no strikes. Well, had he pulled that ball, it would have been gone. But that wall juts out, the triangle out there in right center field, and it banged off the wall.
That's Triple's alley out there.
2-0 on Justin Smoak. You get it right in that corner down there, and it's going to be a triple just about every single time. And now all of a sudden it's gone to 3-0 as Hardy has lost sight of the strike zone, and so McCann runs out there. Here's the 3-0. 3-1 now on Smoak. And you lost him, ball 4. So after 2 quick outs, Hardy has given up a triple and now a walk. We'll bring up Josh Thole. Thole hitting just 130. Strike 1. Strike 2.
Good breaking ball there thrown by Hardy. Started it right at Thole. Thole gave up on it and it caught the inside corner. And now you can finish him off with a fastball upstairs. Going back with an off-speed pitch, bury it away.
Rolled foul. 29,771 in attendance tonight for game one in this three-game series. A lot of Blue Jays fans made the trip.
Just a short trip.
Their team getting pounded tonight. Ball high, 1-2. Devin Travis on deck. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Just got a piece of it. Barely. Saunders at third, Smoke at first. Grounded foul. Boyd and Sanchez tomorrow, Zimmerman, and then R.A. Dickey on Wednesday afternoon to close out the series.
And totally, he will be catching R.A. Dickey. He's his personal catcher.
Grounded to second, and that's a winner. Tigers impressive tonight. Michael Fulmer wins his sixth. Tigers with an 11-0 win over the Blue Jays. Big night at the ballpark tonight. We'll be back 11-0 your final.